What's up, Big 12 Nation? It's Tuesday night in America. That can mean only one thing. It's time for another installment, thrilling episode even, of your favorite internet Big 12 show, The Biggest 12, with me, your host, Clint Foster. Thanks so much for being here. We got a lot more. We got a great show for you. Let me first of all say that. I think it's a really fun topic to discuss. A much more freewheeling conversation than usual, partially by design, also partially because I had a pretty busy weekend traveling and I kind of forgot to schedule a guest. So that's fine. We're going to hang out together. We're going to talk about the things that I want to talk about. Maybe we'll have a surprise guest. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's an opportunity for you to get involved in the chat. But first, let's get all of this business out of the way. If you haven't already done it, you know what you need to do. You got to subscribe to the show at Big 12 VOCFB. Yes, it is simulcast on Twitter. Hello, Twitter folks. It's very good to have you in here. But subscribe to the show, man. Come on, you got it. You got to do the thing. It's very easy. You know how to do it. You hit the little subscribe button. You hit the little like button. You hit the little bell, and you make the world a better place, right? It's like rounding up your order at your rounding up the change at Kroger, right? Except for instead of feeding children, you're helping make the show reach more people, which I would say is just as admirable of a goal. All right, if not more. If not more. I mean, come on, let's be real. So subscribe at Big 12 VOCFB. It's not just my show on Tuesday nights, which is, that's what you come for. All right. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of great content on the channel all the time. We love Mark Rogers. We love Voice of College Football. You love the Big 12. Subscribe to the show. Come on, do it. Just do it. Also, follow me if you haven't already at Clint_Foster55. That's my Twitter handle right there. That one right there. Subscribe to that. Take part in my sorted musings. And more importantly, this is going to be way more fun for you. Subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. Shabam, right there. That one right there. New video out, right? The Big 12 Rivalry Draft Part 3, technically, all right? The 2024 Big 12 Rivalry Draft. You should watch it if you haven't. I think it's pretty funny. I put a lot of effort into it, so you should watch it, yeah? And hopefully, here in another week or two, I'll have another video for you. I don't know. But you know how you'll know is if you subscribe to the channel. You'll be the first to know, okay? You might even know before I do, okay? So that's what you should do. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. All of the fun things. Okay, let's get this thing started. I want to talk about stadiums today. I want to talk about locations. I want to talk about road trips. Okay, we're going to talk all about the stadiums that I visited, of which I've been very fortunate. I have visited all of the Big 12. Well, new 4 notwithstanding. Well, I should say new 8 notwithstanding. Visit every single Big 12 stadium except for Iowa State. Yes, I'm working on getting out there. I really want to go out there. It is at literally the tip top of my list. We'll talk about my wish list here in a little while as well. But all the stadiums I've been to, give them some reviews, and also we're going to build the ultimate 2024 Big 12 road trip. What does that look like? If you had the means and you had the resources and you had the time to visit a different place, or maybe not a different place, but just visit somewhere, a Big 12 game every single week, where's going to be the place to be every single week? And what would that look like? We're not going to price it, because, come on. That just seems outrageous, and that's a lot of work. But we're going to talk about it. Again, it's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into any of that, okay, I want to talk about something that, there's a burr in my saddle about this. There's a hitch in my giddy up about this. And maybe this only matters to me, but I want to make it matter to you, okay? So a lot of folks who watch the show, a lot of Big 12 fans, they're very familiar with Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's the Bible of Texas football. Massive tradition in my family to pick up a copy of DCTF every single summer. I adore the magazine. I love getting fired up about it. It's something that I've done with my grandpa his entire life, my entire life. And he owns every single copy, all the way back from the original one, 1960, okay? So it's a big deal, all right? And Dave Campbell's does this thing called the All Texas Team. It is exactly what it sounds like. You got all of the best players in Texas on a super team and the colleges that they're from. It's very fun to say, okay, this is who the editors at DCTF think are the best, right? And they released their All Texas Team here just a couple of days ago. Not yesterday. This is June 2nd. So yesterday, June 10th, they released their team. And I was a little upset. Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, of course, that's part of the fun of Dick Campbell's touch the ball is getting upset about what they have to say about your team. But this shocked me. Okay, this shocked me. If you look at this team, you will notice, particularly if you are of my persuasion, there is not a single TCU player on this first team All Texas team. Not a single one. Now, I've got magazines dating all the way back to 2005 in my garage right now. If I would have put in the effort, I could have told you the last time that this happened. But here's the thing. I do not remember this ever happening. Okay. Certainly not in my breadth of magazines that I own. Okay. Not a single TCU player in the first team. And that is bananas to me. That's crazy to me. Not only that, there's 10 SMU players, I think. All right. Maybe that's just on the, maybe I saw that tweet and it was just on the total. Okay, here we go. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SMU players on the first team. Get the heck out of here, man. Come on. Come on. You mean to tell me that Bud Clark is not worthy of a first team recognition? You mean to tell me some of these transfer wide receivers we have aren't worthy of Savion Williams? You mean to tell me Savion Williams isn't worthy of a first team recognition? Okay. What? This is crazy to me. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I understand. Yes, she's got a very bad season last year. Very, like, I would say even uncharacteristically bad after, considering the circumstances. But this is just bananas, right? You've got Texas State represented on the list. No shade to Texas State. You've got UTSA represented on the list. You've got Sam Houston represented on this list. You don't have TCU. You even have Baylor. Yes, I was going to say you don't have Baylor. You even have Baylor. Caden Jenkins, cornerback right there. Not a single TCU player on the first team. That is just nuts to me. And I'm hoping that it's a good omen. Okay, this is my honest, we're keeping the fan hat on at all times. I'm hoping that this is a good omen because, historically, TCU tends to perform exceptionally well with a chip on its shoulder, right? When people are doubting the Frogs, they tend to perform well. So, hey, maybe this is that thing. Maybe this is what we see happening here. But you know what? Off-season content, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore, right? And when I say I'm not going to take it anymore, I mean I'm still going to buy the magazine. I'm still going to read it cover to cover, and we're still going to talk about it on this show. Okay, whenever it comes out, whenever I get it in the mailbox. But dadgummit, this is upsetting. Okay, it ain't right. It ain't right, people. I hope you can see it on your screen. I hope it's big enough there. You can see obviously who retweeted it. But yeah, Texas, of course, represented on the list. A&M, of course, represented on the list. Texas State, and what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 Texas State players. 4. What? I mean, like, hey, all love. I got one friend who went to Texas State. All love to him. I got a student actually who's going to Texas State next year. All love to them. Bob and Cats and all that. Why are there 4 Texas State? It's okay. Why are there 4 Texas State players? There's no TCU players. It's crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy to me. Okay, so that's off of my chest now. All right, just had to get that out there into the ether, out there into the internet world. Okay, go ahead, sleep on the Frogs, please. Please sleep on the Frogs. We'll see what happens. Okay. We're after a cool 8 wins this year, 8 to 9 wins, we'll have somebody on the first team next year. I just can't believe Bud Clark and Savion Williams, both of whom have been replaced by Texas State players, mind you, on this list. Nothing. Okay. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Josh Hoover for Heisman. Okay, let's move on. So let me tell you, I did make this. We talk about preparing for the show. I did make this. It took me a long time. So I have a board, a big map in my garage with push pins on it. It's a very fun thing that I enjoy doing. Push pins of every college stadium that I have seen a game in. Okay, that's the caveat here. I have to have seen a game in the stadium. Yes, I've driven by Alabama Stadium. I've driven by Florida Stadium. Driven by A&M Stadium. Never seen a game there. Okay. But if I've seen a game, I put a push pin on the board. And I have now transcribed that into the graphic that you see before you. Okay. Of all of the places that I've seen games. And yes, these are all, let me think. Yes, every single one of these is a TCU game. Okay. Now, of course, I didn't double up. I've been to Qualcomm or Snapdragon multiple times for Poinsettia and San Diego State games. I've been to, you know, the Cowboy Stadium for TCU games, Big 12 championships, et cetera, et cetera. But I haven't doubled those up here. It's also worth noting the Arizona State symbol there. That is from the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. It is not from an Arizona State game. So I do actually still need to make it out to an Arizona State game, but I have at least seen a game in the stadium. So anyway, first of all, I would love to know your thoughts about my college football pilgrimage thus far. How's it compare to yours? Which of these places have you been? How do you rate them? I can tell you right now, a lot of these places I really, really love. If we're going to keep it in the Big 12, the current Big 12, okay, I think my favorite place among current Big 12 members that I have seen a game, that I've attended a game, and this doesn't even account for the quality of the game necessarily or the crazy things that happened. I believe that my favorite away experience, it might just have been Kansas State. That was a really fun place to go. Cool tailgating atmosphere, fun college town, miserable game experience. That was actually the last game of Gary Patterson's career. It was an absolute, thumping, but very, very fun spot. Texas Tech, I was there most recently for the 2015 tortilla tip game. Absolutely bananas. Okay, so that was definitely a fun game experience. Really was impressed by West Virginia. Had a lot of fun with Purdue fans, specifically Purdue fans and Clemson fans. So I was at Clemson in 2009. So this is before, Clemson's recent ascension. Okay. Purdue and Clemson fans, some of the nicest folks I've ever run into in my life at that time, at the time that I was there. Purdue in 2019, Clemson in 2009. Golly, how were those 10 years apart? Lots of people in Purdue just buying me drinks, having good conversation, and lots of folks in Clemson. Oh my God, welcome to Clemson. And after the game, man, that was a good game. I hope you enjoyed your time here and travel safe. And oh my gosh, never seen anything like that, right? Of course, BYU fans, very, very nice. Now, I will say, when I went to a BYU game, that was when I was with the team. So I was on the field. So I had a lot less fan interaction. Same goes for Utah. Same goes for all of the Mountain West schools. So it's a little bit different in that vein. I didn't get to really experience game day in the same way. But I will tell you that Utah fans that you could hear on the field for the, approximately 3 minutes of game time that they were talking in that blowout, very, very fiery folks. Very fiery folks. I will say that. But yeah, Boise State, very, very, very cool stadium to play in. The blue turf really does mess with your brain. And they may have changed it since 2011. I'm not sure, but the visiting locker room situation was virtually non-existent. I remember they had stashed us in a very old track locker room. And I mean, hey, that's fine. Not all stadiums are Emmett Carter Stadium. Not all places, or even University of Texas for that matter, places that have really nice visiting accommodations. Okay. There's a place for the Iowas with their walls painted pink. Okay. But I'm just saying, I was not impressed by that. I personally really, really love playing at Wyoming. Very cool atmosphere. It's out in the middle of flipping nowhere. There was a little snow flurry when we played up there too. And there's a naked dude in a barrel. I mean, it's a whole vibe. Okay. Very cool. Air Force also has a very cool location. It's dug into the ground. So it's not much to look at from the outside of the stadium, but it's a cool vibe inside. And of course, you've always got the flyovers and whatnot. I've actually been to three Air Force TCU games in 2005, and then twice as a student in 2009, which was the coldest game I've ever been at. It was -9 wind chill or some nonsense. And then the hot water in the showers broke after the game. So that was phenomenal. Bus ride back to the airport. And then again in 2011, which was much nicer weather. But yeah, and this is an interesting thing. So if we're talking about home field advantage, I've said this many times on the show, and I'll say it again, that I think that Oklahoma State is the toughest place to play in the Big 12, hands down. And it's just because it is so bloody uncomfortable. The sidelines are extremely narrow. The visiting fans and their paddles, they're right the heck on top of you. There's not enough room on the sidelines for all of your trunks and all of your stuff that you have to have. It's just uncomfortable, right? I wouldn't say it's the loudest, at least not the two games that I've been there. I was there in 2015 and in 2012. Not the loudest stadium I've ever been in, but definitely uncomfortable and definitely difficult. But I mean, both of those games TC lost, right? That we were up there at Stillwater. I think we've only won in Stillwater once, if my memory serves me correctly, in all the years that we've been to the Big 12 now. Very, very tough place to play. Right behind them, in my opinion, you've got West Virginia, Texas Tech, and you've got Iowa State. All very tough places to play, two of which I've been to. I mean, hey, I have no experience with bounce house, but judging by the very small sample size that we have, it may UCF may be climbing up onto that list. We'll see. That may be the place where people go to die, right? Where programs go to die. I will say this though. So I mean, here's the thing. My favorite game, my favorite place to have ever been for a game. Come on, it's the Rose Bowl. You can't get any better than the Rose Bowl. It's iconic. You step out on that field and you're kind of like having an out of body experience because you're like, oh, holy mackerel, this is the place that I've watched so many New Year's Day games. Extremely blessed to have gotten to do that while I was in college. I will say this though. I mean, the field is gorgeous, but at least the game that we played there, the turf was coming up in chunks on our players' cleats. And that's why, those of you who are TCU fans or you remember watching that game, there was a lot of slipping going on early in that game because the turf was just so moist and supple. It was just like coming up in chunks. Really created a problem. But amazing place to play. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I think the loudest stadium I've ever been in, and again, maybe this is because I was on the field for this game, uh, is the Fiesta Bowl in 2009. For those of you that remember, that was TCU Boise State. That's when the Frogs and Boise State got relegated to the kids' table. Both undefeated. TCU is very realistically was a Mac Brown holding up a 1 second finger away from playing Alabama for the national championship back then, because Texas, by all rights, should have lost to Nebraska and Ndamukong Suh in the Big 12 championship until Mac Brown's like, oh no, we got 1 more second on the clock. Colt McCoy's pass out of bounds hit the ground with exactly 1 second left, so you should give us 1 second because there's never been a 1 second runoff ever in the history of college football. So Texas kicks a field goal and wins. But anyway, we're in that game. Team did not care. All right, and that's just the very sad truth. The Frogs were devastated. The team was devastated that we were going to have to play Boise State in a bowl game for a second straight year, even though it was the Fiesta Bowl, and just really did not bring the intensity that they should have and the preparation mindset that they should have that week leading up to that game. We end up losing. But I will tell you this, man, there were several moments that they just stick in my mind from that game of it was so loud. And you don't think of a bowl game as being loud. My only explanation is that it was, a dome, it's closed in, and that the noise was really contained in there, and it's not as cavernous as like a Cowboy Stadium, right? It's a little bit more. It feels weird to call Cardinals Stadium intimate, but a bit more so than the Cowboy Stadium. The Cowboy Stadium, the acoustics are terrible. But yeah, that's the loudest game I can ever remember being at, and I've been at a lot of crazy games. I just really none stick out to me really that we're louder than that, which it feels crazy to say, but that's the reality here. But yeah, and I should also, I didn't even make mention of Arkansas. I had a blast at Arkansas. I went up there in 2017 when TCU beat Arkansas up there in 2017. And man alive, I had heard horror stories because my whole family, everybody who's been to college, with the exception of my sister now, has gone to TCU. My grandpa, he's the first person in our family that went to college. He went to TCU. That's really where I got my passion for the frogs from. My mom, my aunts, my uncles, everybody, all went to TCU. And my grandpa grew up watching Jim Swink in the 50s and loving the frogs because he was a Fort Worth guy, and then sat in the same seat every single game from 1961 after he graduated on until they tore the stadium down, and I got his old seat in a shadow box for him. Right nowadays, he's too old and too unhealthy to physically go to games, but he still, of course, watches every single game. And I'd heard horror stories from my family. Oh my God, Arkansas, the fans are terrible. They're so awful. They're terrible people, and they're going to pour beers on your head, and it's going to be the worst thing. And just all of this indoctrination of how terrible Arkansas folks are. Man, I had so much freaking fun at that game. I made so many friends, bopping around tailgates. It was a blast, and of course, it helped that we won. Right? I mean, that didn't hurt anything at all. Right? Because TCU doesn't have the best historical record up in Fayetteville or Little Rock, but that was an absolute blast. I love being up there, and I was there when they were still working on building one of the end zones. So it was kind of under construction. It wasn't really probably a true representation of A+ game day atmosphere at Arkansas, but it was a fun atmosphere, and I had a lot of fun. To me, the build up to the game and the tailgating and all that stuff, that's every bit as much of it. I will say, as far as crazy atmospheres, I've been to several TCU games at Texas. The one in 2022, that was by far the best atmosphere I've been at, by far, because it was packed. People were into the game. It was a close game throughout. It was really fun vibes, tailgating around before the game. And now, Chris Del Conte has copied TCU and given Texas its version of Frog Alley, which is right by the stadium. Very, very fun vibes there in 2022. A lot less exciting. There were so many of those, just the Charlie Strong years and the Tom Herman years where Texas was just trash, right? Which is just so delicious to say in retrospect. And all those games of going down there. I mean, I had a blast, right? Frogs beating Texas. But they weren't exactly crazy atmospheres. Same goes for my favorite OU game I've ever been to. So I've been to TCU OU games in last year. I was at that bludgeoning last year. I was there in 2008, and I was there in 2005. And am I missing one? I was there in 2015 as well. That 2015 game. Okay. But the 2005 game is one of my personal favorite memories because that was, little old TCU coming off of no bowl game season, going to face Adrian Peterson and the top 10 Oklahoma Sooners. I think they were number 7, if I remember right. And, me and my friends, this is, freshman year of high school, Clint, going up there. And I'm just like, hey, let's just be obnoxious. And if we kick a field goal, let's act like we won the Super Bowl. And we're just going to have fun. Right. TCU ends up winning and just absolutely shutting down Adrian Peterson, 17-10, if I remember right, was the score. And that stadium was so quiet for so much of that game. It was insane. And I think it was an attendance record at the time, because I very vividly remember, we talk about loud stadiums, the Boomer Sooner chant at the beginning of that game, very, very loud, very, very intense. And then just so much of that game was so silent. It was incredible. Incredible. Okay, so let's talk about places. I mean, and again, hey, get in the comments here, right? Let's hear your favorite places that you've been, favorite memories that you have in other stadiums. There was a TCU tweet going around recently. Hey, what was your favorite experience, away game experience at a TCU game? I was like, hey, if we're not including bowl games, because the Alamo Bowl in 2015 was one of, that was probably the greatest game I've ever attended in person. Let's be honest. I mean, yes, I was at the Rose Bowl. I was at Boise State. I was at all these other games. But that 31-0 comeback was so insane. We all were just like, can't believe we spent this money to come down here. And what a joke. And oh my God. And then I've never been so euphoric at the end of a game. Man, it's about time that I watch the Alamo Bowl again. We're at that point of the offseason where I need to watch the Alamo Bowl again. But I've been really fortunate. Like I said, I was at the 2015 game at Texas Tech with Aaron Green catching the tipped touchdown off of Josh Doxson. I was at Hypnotoad in a Hurry in 2022 at Baylor. That was another one of the most insane games. That's the first time I've ever been left speechless at a game. Griffin Kell made that kick, and literally my jaw dropped to the floor, and I couldn't make any noise. I was in such complete and utter shock. 2005 OU is another really special memory, and I can't remember what I said for my Boise State was the fourth one. That was another crazy one. It was going for 2 at the end of the game, very similar to the West Virginia game in 2012, which is another really, really fun one. That's the only time I've ever been out to Morgantown, by the way. It's my senior year with the Josh Boyce game, if you will, right, where he has the 93-yard touchdown and the game-winning 2-point conversion to win that game. And I think that's the game that got us bowl eligible that year. Yes, very big game. I was talking. If you subscribe to the channel, you'd see this. I was on Shane's show, the Big 12 fan show, and we were talking about the unique rivalry that TCU and West Virginia has, where there's not a lot of hatred, I don't think, between TCU and West Virginia. I really like a lot about West Virginia, and I enjoy the banter with the fans, and I really very happily root for West Virginia when they're not playing TCU. But man, those games, you always know that TCU West Virginia game is going to be some kind of crazy, right? It's been very few and far between that there's been a game where like TCU was just terrible, West Virginia won like 45-0 or some nonsense, right? Usually it's something crazy, and it's very fun with the Frogs and Mountaineers being 2 teams that came into the Big 12 at the same time, the same year, theoretically from the Big East, theoretically, right, came together. And it's just always just fun vibes in that game. Fun vibes. All right. So, and here, okay. So my mom says, when we beat UT at Austin. Okay, well, which time? Okay, because there's been a few, been a lot. That's kind of just like a normal thing. I got to say, it's pretty sad that Texas is leaving to the SEC for the sole reason of they're tired of losing to TCU. I mean, that's just a crying shame. Okay. But hey, you got to follow your own path in life. You got to do what you got to do. All right. Let's do this. Let's create the ultimate Big 12 road trip. And we're going to talk about what that's going to look like for you and how much fun you're going to have. Okay. So I've got up here what I'm about to put up on the screen, a week-by-week breakdown of all of the Big 12 games. Okay, we're going to go week by week. We're going to say, okay, where is the place to be in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. All right, and what's that experience going to be like for you? I'm keeping it to Saturday games because that feels easier. Okay, and that's really the only reason. Yeah, that's just that feels easier. So week 1, I don't think there's any question what game you would want to be at. If I have the means to go anywhere for any game, I want to be at that West Virginia Penn State game there, that noon kickoff on Saturday, August 31st. Get this college football season rolling. Penn State's a dang good team, okay? But they're coming into Morgantown, and Morgantown, I don't think I gave it its flowers enough talking about that 2012 game. It is an outstanding atmosphere. Mountaineer fans are outstanding fans. I really, 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 really one of these days want to get back out to a West Virginia game again so I can experience it purely as a fan and not just as someone who's working for the team, because the tailgating is supposed to be legendary. Let me tell you what, you go to this game, you are going to go to Tudor's Biscuit World in the morning. Okay, get yourself a delicious, flaky, buttery biscuit for breakfast, all right, with either some gravy or make it a sandwich, all right? It's going to rock your world. You go out and you tailgate, find some moonshine or don't find some moonshine, okay? Whatever suits your fancy, and then you're going to sit down in an outrageous atmosphere to watch Penn State, West Virginia, and a classic, I say, rivalry. I mean, I feel like some West Virginia fans don't agree with me. I think this is a great rivalry. There's great geographical reasoning for a rivalry here, and hopefully you see West Virginia take an upset win. All right, that is my first week game. Okay, yeah, and y'all don't let me forget that I do want to talk about my travel wish list whenever I'm done with this. Okay, so don't let me end the show. Okay, all right, we have folks popping up. Jack Trice is the only one that matters. I'm telling you, that's the stadium that I'm dying to get out to. It's the only one of the original Big 12 that I haven't been to, and I want to go so bad. It feels like every time I intend to go, it's at a bad time of year or the tickets are too expensive, like plane tickets. But one of these days, maybe it's next year, but one of these days, I'm going to get out to Iowa State for a game. I cannot wait to do it. Yeah, Stillwater at night. Hey, if you go to Stillwater at night, prepare for it to not end well. Okay, that was the situation for the Frogs in 2015. And that's another one. It's a tough place to play because it's uncomfortable, but it's not because the fans are like rabid and vile, right? Every Oklahoma State game I've ever been to, that's another one where it's just like everyone is so nice, everyone is so inviting, and it's just a total fun vibe, right, to be at as a fan. But as a member of a team, it just, oh my God, it sucks. The stupid paddles and the walls, right? It's like you're in an arena field, right? It's like, oh my God, there's no room to breathe. Okay. It sucks. And I will say this, when I was there as a senior, the turf kind of needed an update. I'm sure it's gotten an update since 2012, but that was another issue that we were like, oh my God, this turf is like, it's felt like concrete. So anyway, yes, make it up to Stillwater for a game. Absolutely. So week one, that's week one. Go to West Virginia, okay, for West Virginia Penn State, and hopefully see the Mountaineers take home a win. And Q Country Roads. That's another thing. Very fun aspect of playing seeing a game in Morgantown is, who doesn't love John Denver? Let's be real. And we make the jokes, right? But John Denver was awesome. He still is awesome. Okay. And I love the band playing Country Roads. It's a whole vibe. Okay, week two. We got a lot of fun games here. Arkansas, Oklahoma State is particularly fun, which, like, how is that not a game that's been played more often? Kind of can't believe that Kansas State's actually going to Tulane. That's insane. Okay. Let's really look this through. So, I mean, I'm inclined to say Iowa State, Iowa. I mean, because it's El Assico, right? This is the game it's always some kind of nonsense. And I feel like there's a lot to be said for going and seeing the Iowa players wave at the terminally ill kids and all of that stuff. Man, there's a lot of fun games here on this slate. Texas Tech, Washington State, that's a fun one. Got like kind of the Mike Leach Bowl going on a little bit. Colorado, Nebraska, historic rivalry. Man, these are some good ones. Okay, so I think here's how I'm going to approach this. If we're keeping it, so I wasn't very clear with the rules. If we're keeping it to where you're seeing a game at a Big 12 stadium every week, then this is your first week to go to Stillwater. Okay, go there for Arkansas State, Arkansas, Oklahoma State. Should be an easy win for Oklahoma State. But I mean, I feel like this is maybe Pitt, Cincinnati, but like I feel like there's more. There feels like there's a little more juice in Oklahoma State, Arkansas. But if we're making the rules, hey, you're just going anywhere. I mean, actually, I might say Colorado at Nebraska. I've never been to a game at Nebraska. Obviously, you saw my map. The Frogs have played at Nebraska, but I didn't follow them up there. That was in like 2000 and I can't remember, like 2, 3, something. No, maybe it was 2000. I think it was 2002. Sorry, I think it was 2002 that we were up there, but I didn't go up there for that game. That Colorado, Nebraska, that they're not two world beater teams this next year. No shade to Scobuffs Nation and BMAC, but it's a night game in Nebraska. Nebraska's got a legendary fan base, despite the fact that they have been mostly terrible for the past 15 years. But hey, that game seems like a whole vibe. That Nebraska fans are going to be into it because everyone is seeing Colorado as a villain at this point. They're not beloved by many outside of Boulder. So that seems like it could be a really fun atmosphere. Obviously, NBC thinks so, right? NBC thinks so. So there you go. Let's, again, if you're going to a Big 12 stadium, we're going to go to Oklahoma State this week. You're going to go to Eskimo Joe's. You're going to, parade around that campus in Stillwater. Probably see that duck pond that Dusty Dvorak loves so much. This is such an inside joke. It probably is not landing at all. But a couple of my friends and I, there was one TCU Oklahoma State game where I swear to God, if they panned to that duck pond once during the course of that game, they panned to it 100 times. And Dusty Dvorak talked about it like it was the River Seine. I mean, it was like this magical, immaculate duck pond where dreams come true and romance is alive, right? So it's there. Go find it in Stillwater. Go find your happy place in Stillwater at the duck pond. Okay, so that's go to Oklahoma State if we're staying in the Big 12. If you're going to non-Big 12 stadiums, go to Colorado, Nebraska. I would love to be at that game, man. That would be a blast. I would love to be at that game. Okay, it's those type of games. That's what college football is all about. That's what it's all about. Okay, week 3. Moving on to Saturday down here. Okay. Oklahoma State at Tulsa. How is that still a thing that happens? West Virginia at Pitt. I mean, eat it, Pitt. That of course, that game is going to be a vibe. Let's see, Colorado at Colorado State. That's delicious. Air Force at Baylor, UCF at TCU. Okay. Okay. If you are going anywhere, Big 12 or non, I'm going to West Virginia at Pitt. I just love that rivalry. I think it's such a delicious, hate-infused rivalry. I would love to be at that game. I think, though, if you're keeping it in the Big 12, I think this is the week that you come to Amon Carter Stadium. You come and see me, right? You let me show you around Fort Worth. UCF at TCU. It's a night game. We don't get a whole lot of those, okay? We get a lot of noon kickoffs, which personally, okay, here's my unpopular opinion. I unabashedly love an 11 o'clock kickoff. I love it. I may be the only person in the nation who loves an 11 o'clock kickoff, but I think it's the perfect amount of tailgating that you get to do. You watch the game, and then you have the whole rest of your day to do whatever it is you want. You can watch games on TV. You can do errands. You can do things the ref needs you to do. In my case, you can get a video made before it's hanging over your head all weekend and into Monday. Okay. I love 11 o'clock kickoffs. Night kickoffs, yes, night games are a great atmosphere, but it's like, oh my God, your whole day is dead, right? I mean, because you don't want to not be out tailgating, right? You don't want to not be soaking up the atmosphere of the game and getting excited about the game. So anyway, come to Amon Carter Stadium. For my money, I think Amon Carter Stadium is one of the best stadiums in the Big 12. It's a great little atmosphere. It's a beautiful stadium. It is very, very well manicured. There's lots of great food in there, and the tailgating scene is very nice. Okay, it's not the best, but it's very nice. It's no Grove, let's be real, but it is nice. And Frog folks can't beat the company. Okay, and hey, come on, bring it on down to Fort Worth. All right, let me show you around. Let me show you the city of cowboys and culture. Okay, we'll go to the stockyards and we'll see the cattle drive in the afternoon, and we'll have either Joe T. Garcia's or some barbecue up there at Cooper's or at Panther Island or at Heim Barbecue, which, some people are hating on Heim now, but Travis Heim is my dog. Okay, I still love Heim. Still love those bacon burn-ins and the green chili mac and cheese. Okay, and we're gonna have a grand old time. Okay, we'll show you the old stomping grounds. So yes, TCU, make that your TCU game that you come to. And also, I think that'll be a fun game. I mean, UCF TCU, that's going to be a fun little matchup to, I would say, good teams next year facing off against each other. All right, moving on to week 4. So, look, okay, we got some in the chat. Okay, catching up with y'all. All right, perfect. Okay, so September 21st, Frogs going to Highland Park to face the Ponies. The last Iron Skillet game, maybe in a while, which brings a single solitary tear to my eye. Arizona State and Texas Tech. I'm gonna highlight that for myself because I want to remember that. Kansas at West Virginia. Okay, that'll be a good game. Kansas State at BYU. That could be a trap game. All right. Utah, Oklahoma State. Okay. Yeah. So you got to be at this game. All right. That's going to be a night game. Probably the first game that Utah drops, if we're being honest. These are two Two teams that are competing for the conference championship game already in week 4. And yeah, that's gonna be awesome. You got to be at that game. Okay. So everything I said about Oklahoma State before, a couple weeks before, yeah, copy and paste it over here. Go to that game. I do think that Arizona State Texas Tech is just very fun from a aesthetic perspective, and just these are two. I mean, there's not going to be a sober brain in that stadium whenever that kickoff occurs, no matter how early it is. But yeah, Utah, Oklahoma State, that's the game of the week that week. Okay. That's the game that you want to be at. It's going to be insane. It's going to be really, really good. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Next game on the Big 12 road trip. Going to week 5. Utah going right back, turning right back around and hosting Arizona. Man, you might just need to follow Utah. Okay. Let that be your first game in Salt Lake City. All right. Yeah, I think so. Utah, Arizona. Okay. Follow them. So follow the Utes back to Salt Lake City. Going to be very solid, old Pac-12 matchup. Utah Stadium is it's one of those that's, again, this is just my opinion. All right. You look at it and it doesn't seem overwhelmingly like intimidating or awe-inspiring or anything like that. It's not like you're looking at the outside of Doak Campbell or, but you go in there and those Utah fans, man, they are wild. They're into it. Okay. That is a great fan base. The Muss student section, very, very solid. I mean, TCU had a dream die in 2008 up there. Right. And that, especially if it's any kind of blackout situation. Yeah, it's a great college football environment. And I think this is the week that you check it out for the first time if you have not before. Now, I saw Austin Eckert, a friend of the show, Austin Eckert. He was saying whenever I was advertising the show, oh my God, we're talking about Big 12 road trip. He was saying, oh my God, I hope you're going to come out to Arrowhead. I don't know. I mean, it's cool that Kansas is playing a couple games at Arrowhead. I can't imagine that the stadium is going to be full. I mean, I can't imagine. That'll be a good game. Okay, TCU Kansas, whenever they're in Kansas, is always a crap show. Okay, and Kansas is actually good these days. So we'll see what happens. I don't have plans to go up to that game. It is cool that they're playing in Arrowhead, though. It's definitely cool, and I can't wait to see what Kansas's new stadium looks like. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. That's another really, really big time game. Going to be a really, really great game. I wouldn't hate you for going to Manhattan for that one. Get you some fried mac and cheese, by the way. There's a food truck that sells fried mac and cheese in Manhattan. It's delicious. But yes, I think this is the week that you go to Utah. Okay. And there's going to be another one that you can go to Kansas State. All right. Here we go. Week 6. UCF at Florida. Oh, man. I can't wait for UCF to win that game. That's going to be very fun. Texas Tech, Arizona, Kansas, Arizona State. Okay. Yes. Let's follow Arizona back home. I'm very excited to see a game in Tucson one of these days. Because, again, check another place off the list. You look at this game, it's not overwhelmingly exciting. I do think that this could end up being a good game. But I think this is a great opportunity to throw on your cowboy hat and go down to Tucson and watch a game down there. I know absolutely nothing about Tucson for a game day atmosphere, other than there's got to be good Mexican food, right? There's got to be some good tacos around and some good times to be had. That's where I'd be going if it was up to me. Why do we have 2 Friday night games? Who's in charge of this? Ugh, get out of here. All right, week 7. Okay, Kansas State at Colorado, Iowa State at West Virginia. Let's go to Colorado, man. Let's go to Colorado. Let's go see that Kansas State Colorado game. Arizona BYU is, that could be a great opportunity to go to Provo as well. But it feels weird to go to 3 Arizona games in a row. I am so upset that I didn't get to go to Boulder in 2022. My friends and I had every intention of going to that game, but it was on a Friday night, and Friday nights in August are very, very difficult for me because school has just started. And actually, I had a whole lot of wacky travel situation already happening that particular August. I cannot wait to get out to Boulder for a game. It is it seems like such a cool atmosphere nestled in the mountains there. Not all that dissimilar from Provo, right? Where you're literally nestled in the midst of mountains. Very picturesque and very beautiful. Yeah, go to this Kansas State Colorado game. It's a classic Big 12 rivalry reignited. Okay. Kansas State should be taking that cake, I would think. But you never know what Colorado's going to do at home. Get Shedeur Sanders flashing his watch and all that good stuff. Yeah, let that be the game that you go to Boulder and do Boulder things. Okay, week 8. Week 8. TCU at Utah. Oh, that is a great Mountain West rivalry reignited. Very, very fun one to potentially go to. But we've already been to a Utah game. Let's see. So, okay, if we're trying to broaden if we're just talking about what I think is going to be like the funnest game that week, okay. So you got an opportunity to go to Iowa State here, right? Make this your first Iowa State game of the year. You've got an opportunity to go to this TCU Utah game, which I think is going to be the most fun game of the week. But the Butt Bowl's not in Cowboy Stadium anymore, okay? And we haven't been to Lubbock yet. Go check out the Butt Bowl, okay? Baylor, Texas Tech, BUTT, butt, right? Yeah. Watch for tortillas and flying batteries. Have some fun out there. I've had fun have I only been to one Texas Tech game? Maybe the 2015 game is okay. So I've had fun whenever I've gone down there, because it was like a historic classic that TCU won. But this is another one that Texas Tech's reputation as a hostile fan base is earned, at least in my experience. I do not hate Texas Tech in the way that many TCU fans do. Part of that is because my late father-in-law went to Texas Tech, and he was literally one of the greatest men I've ever known in my life. So I happily root for Texas Tech when it doesn't negatively affect the Frogs, simply because of him. But in my experience, he's a little bit of the exception to the rule, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Like I love the Gambling Gauchos. I love all of. Let's put this in a sports context, okay? We're putting this in a Saturday game day context. That Tech fans are bananas, and they will own that, right? They love that about themselves. This has nothing to do with like loving the folks that I love all the time and like having friendly conversation with them outside of a game day atmosphere. Texas Tech is a crazy place to play a game, and Baylor Texas Tech is a fun rivalry. Two polar opposite institutions in every sense of the word. Yeah, I'm trying to get mixed up. If we haven't been to a Tech game yet, go to this one. If not, TCU Utah, I think that's the most exciting game on the schedule. Or, if we're going to extend it to Friday, and okay, let's fudge the rules a little bit. Let this be the week that you go to BYU, okay? Oklahoma State, BYU. This was a crazy game last year. What, 2 or 3 overtimes, okay? BYU, very, very cool place to play. Cosmo, exceptionally creepy yet exceptionally talented mascot. I hear about the Cougar Tails. I have not partaken in a Cougar Tail, right? But yes, okay. Night game at BYU. This is the one that you got to be at for week 8. That's the one that you got to be at. Okay, week 9. Tech go to TCU. Oklahoma State go to Baylor. Kansas State. Yeah. Okay, this is your Kansas State game. I said there'd probably going to be one. Go to the Sunflower Showdown in Manhattan. Manhattan's reputation as a great atmosphere is absolutely earned. I had a blast when I was up there, and it was a miserable game. So that should tell you everything that you need to know, right? And is this the year that Kansas finally gets over the hump and beats Kansas State? I don't know, probably not. Okay, but it's going to be a dang good game. I can promise you that. And it's going to be a very cool atmosphere. There's your week 9 game. Okay, Arizona, UCF, Arizona State, Oklahoma State. Okay, if we haven't gone to Iowa State yet, this may be your week to do it. Okay, like I say, I'm dying to get out to Ames, dying to get out there. Crazy, crazy, beautiful college football atmosphere. If not, Arizona, UCF, that feels like a game Arizona's going to lose. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe this is your chance to go out to the bounce house. Okay, I don't know which of these, if that'll end up being a night game, but that might be the one to circle. One of these days, I'll get out to Orlando specifically for that purpose, and not to go to Disney World, right? Okay, so BYU, Utah. Okay, BYU Utah. Oh my gosh, I'm shocked at how many great Utah games are on this list. But I mean, I am so excited to watch this game on TV. I'm so excited that BYU Utah is back, the Holy War. Um, yeah, if we haven't gone to Utah already, this is a great game to go up there. No love lost at all between these two schools. If we're trying to go someplace that we haven't been yet, let's go to Cincinnati this week. Okay. This is a game that West Virginia cares probably less than nothing about, but Cincinnati fans care a lot about and have circled. Right. There's a lot of geographical reason for a rivalry here. If Cincinnati's hyped about it, it's going to be a hype atmosphere at Cincinnati. That's the place I would want to go if I'm trying to go someplace I haven't been yet in this road trip. Okay. But I mean, BYU Utah, that's the best game. That's the best game. That's the one that if you only had one game that you could see all year, that's the one that week that you should go to. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, we've been to West Virginia already. Arizona State. This is a weird slate this week. It's a very weird slate. In fact, I'm kind of like, is this a full list? Like, I don't know. Okay. If you okay. I don't know. None of these are very exciting. Kansas BYU is probably the best game. That's probably the best game here. Go to BYU. But I feel like there's been a lot of like, oh, maybe you could be Iowa State. I mean, let this be the Iowa State game if we haven't gotten to an Iowa State game. Okay, Iowa State's going to win, and it's going to be great. Great time up in Cyclone Land. Okay. Let's see here. Baylor at Houston. We haven't gone to a Houston game yet on this road trip. A lot of fun games. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State's a fun rivalry. Arizona TCU could be a spicy game. That could be a very fun game. Fun game to be at. We haven't gone to Houston yet, though, so I guess let's go to Houston. If I'm telling you to go to any game, it's either Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, or Arizona TCU. Houston, I wasn't. So last year was my first year to go to a Houston game down there. I wasn't incredibly impressed, right? In fact, I was saying to my friends, I was like, I think SMU Stadium is better than this. Okay, and that is not high praise. Okay, I don't have a lot of good things to say about SMU Stadium. It was just kind of like whatever. It was just kind of like a stadium, and like it wasn't full, which was very weird because it was like, this is your first home Big 12 game. How is it not full? Houston's kind of weird town. I mean, there's nothing like really fun to do near the University of Houston. I mean, we hung out like downtown and then went to the game, right? Which is not in the best area. And I will say this, they have at least 36 post-touchdown traditions. That was, hilarious. Me and my friends were rolling with laughter about this. It was like, okay, most teams do like a thing, right? Like TCU blows the frog horn, or like, a thing happens, right? Houston, there were literally like 16 things happening simultaneously. All right. There was like, I can't even remember, but it was like there was way too much going on, and it was hilarious. Maybe you go to this Baylor Houston game. Okay, a little bit of a Southwest Conference rivalry. If you care to go to Houston this week. If not, Oklahoma State or TCU. I think those are the games to go to in week 13. Whoa. Okay. All right. Almost there. We're in the home stretch. Okay, week 14. Let's look at Saturday. Okay, Houston, BYU, Kansas, Baylor. We haven't gone to a Baylor game yet. Okay. Kansas State, okay, here's your Iowa State game. Yes. All right. This is the Iowa State game. Farmageddon, I would argue the best rivalry in the Big 12 right now. Last year was insane. This year's going to be great too. That's the game that you got to be at. Two very solid teams. Arizona State, though, I mean, oh my God, what a great rivalry week. This is another one that I would very happily be at, the Territorial Cup. Oh my God, how do you even choose? If you're trying to go someplace new, I mean, we haven't been to Baylor yet. A lot of folks love McLean Stadium. I kind of think it's a little overrated. I mean, the setting is cool that it's on the river, but I mean, come on, y'all. It looks like a toilet. The stadium looks like a toilet from the sky. That's an objective fact. It looks like a toilet, okay? And there's no beer in the stadium. What's that all about, right? Like, come on. It's okay. It's okay, the stadium. And that's not just because I'm a TCU fan. I just think it's kind of whatever, man. Whatever. Go to the Iowa State Kansas State game. That's the game that you need to be at. Okay, last week of the season. This has got to be okay. So this is the week that I am intending. Oh no, okay. There's 14 weeks. This is what a weird website. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the last week. So because I am very strongly considering going to the TCU Cincinnati game this year. Again, a stadium that I've never been to. I have been given pause because there are no direct flights to Cincinnati on Southwest, and they weren't particularly cheap. So, that's giving me reason for pause. But that's where I'd like to go. Me and my friends, we like to go someplace new every year. We haven't been to Cincinnati. We're thinking this might be the year that we go to TCU Cincinnati, what will be undoubtedly a very cold game. Okay, let's close this thing out. I want to give you my travel wish list. Okay, so looking forward at teams that TCU is going to play within the next 5-ish years. Okay, like I said, I would very much like to see Cincinnati this year. But other places that I would really, really love to see. North Carolina. TCU has an upcoming series with North Carolina. I really, really want to be at that game. I have only, as you saw from my map, I've only been 2 places on the East Coast, Clemson and West Virginia. 2 pretty good ones, mind you. But I'd love to go to UNC. Chapel Hill's supposed to be gorgeous. And yeah, I'd very much like to be at that one. Obviously, right under that, the top of my list is Iowa State. I'm dying to go to a game at Iowa State. I'm dying to see a game at Ames. Really can't wait for my first opportunity to do that. Colorado's also up there. Okay, so if we're going in order of like which Iowa State's number 1, UNC's number 2, Colorado's number 3. I'm really dying to go to Colorado, see a game in Boulder. Arizona, I have not been down to Tucson, so that's my number 4, and then I put UCF as my number 5. That just as insofar as being 100% completion, I got to get out to a UCF game, right? So that's on my list. Now my dream 5, okay. So Jeremiah Donati, I know you follow me on Twitter, man. I know that you have nothing better to do on a Tuesday night, so you are absolutely 58 minutes deep into this random episode of the Biggest 12. These are the 5 games that I'm like, put these on the schedule, get a home and home with these teams. I'm dying to see a game in these stadiums, okay? All right. In fact, I wrote down 6. Okay, so honorable mention. Honorable mention is Virginia Tech, okay? I know Virginia Tech hasn't been much to talk about pretty much since Frank Beamer retired, but that is a game day atmosphere I would love to soak in. I want to be there and I want to see, usually I'm not in a huge hurry to get into stadiums like for team entrances, right? Just as long as you're in there for a kickoff. But this is one where I'm like, I want to be in my seat when Enter Sandman starts playing and Virginia Tech is running out on the field. I want to see it. West Virginia fans are probably watching this like, oh no, why would you want to do that? I want to see a game at Virginia Tech, right? I would really love that. That's my honorable mention. Okay, so my other 5, okay? Number 1 on my list, and maybe I'm crazy for this, I really want to see a game at Tennessee, okay? For my money, Tennessee has the best fight song in the business. I think Rocky Top is a certifiable bop, okay? I will happily listen to Rocky Top just like in the car, not necessarily like the band's version, but like the original. What were the brothers? Anyway, the original bluegrass version. That's an elite fight song, okay, and it perfectly matches Tennessee, and that's it's a cool atmosphere. That's there on the river. Very, very big stadium. Okay, rabid fans. I would love to see a game at Tennessee. Love to see a game at Tennessee. That's my number 1. Jeremiah Donati, schedule home and home Tennessee. Make it happen. Okay, my number 2, which again, schedule home and home. Let's do this. Washington. Would love to see a game at Washington. Again, completely picturesque environment, right? The sailgating out there. It's like on the water. Every picture, I've never seen a picture of Washington Stadium that did not look unequivocally gorgeous, right? Just a very unique atmosphere for college football. Okay, certainly not your normal fare, but seems very cool. Okay, all those Husky fans in their yachts, right? And seems like a very fun game day atmosphere. That's number 2 on my list. Okay, number 3, and this is one that my family's like, well, why didn't you just do this? Because this is where my sister went. Ole Miss. I never made it out to an Ole Miss game, partially because I'm psychotic and I can't miss TCU games. But I would love to see a game at Ole Miss. It's named after a TCU player, for the love of God, Johnny Vaught. Okay. I've heard nothing but good things because, like I said, my sister went there. The Grove is legendary, right? Legendary tailgating in the Grove. Love to see a game there. Love to see a game there. A lot of nice folks out there in Oxford, Mississippi. Also, kind of similar to Provo is my understanding, in that it's kind of like locked in a time warp, like you went back to the 50s, whenever you step into this town. Definitely up there. I know this is my grandpa's number 1, and he's not going to games anymore, but he was always dying to see a game here as a child of the 40s. Notre Dame. Okay, I'd love to see a game at Notre Dame. I mean, why hasn't TCU scheduled a home and home with Notre Dame? It's too perfect. Let's make it happen. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame's legendary, touchdown Jesus and all of that stuff. Beautiful campus up there. I'd love to see a game up there. Legendary stadium. And it'd be nice if I could drag my grandpa up there too against his will, just so I could be like, hey, you can cross this off your bucket list now. And then last for me, I really kind of waffled on this last one. I think I want to go with Penn State. Just a whiteout at Penn State just seems very elite atmosphere. Game that I'd love to be at. Again, it's over 100,000 people in the stadium. Yeah, I'd love to see that as well. I'd also love to, from an anthropological perspective, just observe folks who could justify Joe Paterno's actions. For science, right? Just purely for science. Okay, anyway, so there's my 5. Tennessee, Washington, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, honorable mention Virginia Tech. Let's get some TCU games on the schedule with those folks. Give me a reason to go up there. Okay, we've gone for a full hour. I cannot believe I've babbled on for a full hour about this, but you know what? Hey, this is why you got to be a part of this show, because we. And thank you all for tuning in. Okay, thank you for making me a part of your Tuesday night. And so you want me to be a part of every Tuesday night, right? I mean, if a thinking man would. Okay, so do what it's saying on the ticker down there, man. Subscribe at Big 12 VOCFB. Make this a part of your Tuesday night routine. Hit the like button, hit the bell button, do all the things, okay? And participate in the chat. We had some folks jumping into the chat. Love to see you. Thank you all for being here. Also, you know what to do. Follow me on social media at Clint_Foster55 on Twitter. If you care to have more of a window into my personal life, Instagram's really the thing for that, at the Clint Foster. That's where I'm more like posting like what I'm up to. Okay, if you're into that sort of thing. But this is my musings on the Frogs and more recently the Mavs. Sports stuff, right? And bad jokes. And speaking of bad jokes, at Clint Foster Comedy. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. New video on there for you. Come on, baby, watch it. Watch it again. Just leave it on in the background of your life, okay? Rack up about like 35 views on that thing. Do yourself a favor. You're going to see, I'm not saying that you're going to become rich magically by playing my videos over and over again, but I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Okay? So, you won't know until you try. Thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight. Until next week, I hope your team wins and go Big 12. All right? Love y'all. Have a good one.